A group of prisoners took over a jail, and a guard had to act like he was a criminal to stay alive. The story opens in a jail cell where an inmate sharpens something, fills the wash basin with water, slashes his hands, and waits for his end. Next, we meet Juan Oliver, a young prison guard. Juan chooses to acquaint himself with the details of his tasks before starting the next day. His colleagues show him to the prison and explain the prisoner regulations. The guard display earned the most hazardous criminal cell block. The guards caution the man that these goons have nothing to lose and can do anything. One guard won a handmade shotgun. The man asks where the prisoners get their ammo. His co-workers tell him that you can get almost anything here if you know who to talk to. Some of the guards work with the informants. One of them is a Colombian man named Apache who told the guards about the shotgun. Another guard, Armando, tells one not to trust anyone and never show his fear to criminals. But one has no idea that he will soon become one of them. The ceiling collapses during construction in one's workplace. Guards initially believe they escaped with only a fright, but when they see that the piece has fallen directly on one's head and he loses consciousness, they take Oliver to free cell 211. Julian, a warden, must shackle one of the most violent offenders, Malamater, to his cell. The corridor noise distracts Julian, the prisoner. When Julian comes back, it doesn't take Malamater long to get a lockpick and get out of his bonds. Malamater strikes the guard, and Armando tries to talk Juan out of killing himself. His colleague cries that the inmates have taken over the block and must go quickly, abandoning the unlucky victim, and flee a prison riot where inmates break out of their cells and smash everything in their path, while guards watch on video surveillance cameras. Jose Utrilla, since he already has two guards, Julian and Juan, the guard's leader, wants to meet with the prisoner. One prisoner asks a captive in cell 211 how he got there. A puzzled Juan doesn't comprehend and doesn't answer. The bandit. He exits and orders the others to watch the cell until he wakes up. Juan understands he must pretend to be a prisoner to survive the uprising. Oliver removes his shoelaces rapidly, his belt and prison prohibited items. He removes his wedding ring at the last minute, and the other convicts seize him and carry him to Malamater. The basement has no cameras, so the guards don't know. The guards don't know what's going on, and Oliver thinks they should stop the riot as soon as possible. However, the warden tells them to wait for the SWAT team. One informs Malamater he was sentenced to 19 years for a deadly crime, but the gangster doesn't believe one who wouldn't kill a fly. Malamater finds a head wound, and he says that a security guard beat him up. The criminal boss tells the new guy to take off his clothes so he can check him out. The other prisoners make fun of and tease the man. Malamater sees that Juan doesn't pose a danger. As Apache is instructed by Malamater to remove the cameras, Juan gets dressed and remembers getting ready that morning and saying goodbye to his expectant wife. Juan then walks to the top of the block and offers to leave one video camera behind so Malamater may be seen during discussions, but can be covered with something. The criminal loves this concept and starts trusting Juan. The warden notices Juan was mistaken for a criminal. The warden warns that if anybody discovers Juan is a guard, he would be executed. Meanwhile, Malamater leads Juan to Julian, who is shackled, asks the guard whether he has beaten him. Oliver denies it, but Malamater has brought the prisoner, who suffered at his hands, to Julian. To avenge his torture by the warden, journalists are aware of the jail disturbance and special troops are approaching to raid the facility, and officials must select next steps. The warden discovers 3 ETA militants in one block of the occupied building. Malamater takes the bass hostage and hides the video camera. A government negotiator named Ernesto El Manso arrives at the jail. Malamater tells the other convicts that they would compel the government to meet all their requests owing to such valuable hostages. The jail officials and the negotiator Almonso discover that ETA militants were relocated to the section yesterday, implying that someone informed Malamater. Utrilla suspects Canojo was in the hospital on the eve of the disturbance and visits the prisoner to confirm truth. Malamater and Juan write a prison letter with demands. Juan's penmanship amazes the riot organizer. In the letter, inmates seek human treatment, family visits, and timely medical care. Malamater says that the prisoner in cell 211, before one had cut his wrists because a brain tumor was giving him a terrible headache. After finishing his demand letter, Malamater radios Almonso to negotiate with Taquella, his right-hand man, an Apache guard in one of the prisons. Taquella says no one can be believed when Apache asks about a newcomer. Apache offers to check on Juan and Taquella accepts. As Malamater and Juan wait for the negotiator, he tells him that he is left with a pregnant wife, and that he ended up in prison because he knocked out a drug dealer who got his brother addicted on heroin. Malamater sympathizes with Juan until Almonso arrives, frisks the negotiator, and informs him the hostages are in the shower room. Convicts pass up their demands letter and order sandwiches, shrimp, fun medication. Malamater says Juan has to contact his pregnant wife, so Almanso offers to call her alongside him, but the cell block screams. Malamater kidnaps Almonso and sends Juan to investigate. The guards switch on the video camera. When one prisoner kills another, the superiors think it's a hostage and order the SWAT team to storm it. Juan jumps into the shower area and escorts the bass out to show the wardens that all the hostages are alive, canceling the operation at the last minute. The inmates are overjoyed that Juan and Malamater saved them from assault. The mobster says he forgives Oliver for now, but will kill him if one takes power again. The jail rebellion attracts attention. Elena, Juan's wife, hears that the prison has rioted and there are victims. She phones her husband's new job for details. Utrilla beats Kanoho for 30 minutes until he gives up and explains that Malamater knew about the Vass from the prison barber, who slashes guards and convicts. Armando enters the ward and witnesses how aggressively Utrilla is pounding the truth out of Kanoho. He informs the warden he will have to make a report on him and assures her that Juan is alright. The guard tells the worried woman to go home and wait for her husband. Elena gets in the car, but is anxious about Juan. Juan, Malamater, and their underlings are having their shrimp meal, who almost caused the assault. He approaches him and explains that his stupidity could have ruined their plans. Juan gingerly picks up Malamatri's radio and heads to his cell. When Oliver reaches out to Almonso, the negotiator responds that if they give in to the prisoners' demands today, tomorrow, such riots will break out across the nation, so they can't assist him. The convicts watch TV and witness family outside the prison gates requesting information about the casualties from their supervisors. Malamater finds his radio is stolen. One gives it back to him and claims he left it in the mess hall, but Apache observes that one left an empty cell with the radio and becomes suspicious. Apache then returns to his cell and takes out his hidden cell phone. He asks a guard who as Ellen arrives at the prison to check on her spouse. An furious throng is gathering outside the gate demanding the truth about the victims. Armin finds the battered barber. He denies saying anything to Malamater and doesn't recall what Utrilla told him. Utrilla organizes guards to physically disperse the crowd at the jail gate after police squads fail to quiet them. Baton-wielding cops and guards start hitting individuals. Malamater sees what is occurring on television and calls Almanso by radio to demand that the security forces cease assaulting the people. Almanso says that the police have no other alternative. Apache informs Juan that he understands he is not one of them. While promising to fix things, the informer gives Oliver time to consider his quiet offer. Juan then notices Elena among the throng and grabs Malamatri's radio in panic, shouting to Almans that his wife is among the demonstrators. He commands the police to halt and demands that they cease broadcasting from the situation. Juan doesn't see this horrific moment since the broadcast has been interrupted. Elena is brought to the hospital in bad condition after Utrilla beats Helena with his baton and knocks her out. Malamater contacts Almans to resume broadcasting and request a list of wounded. Malamater also asks whether Juan's wife is well, so Alman lies and says she was taken to the hospital just in case. Juan tries to tune the radio in his cell, believing something is being kept from the detainees. Apache threatens to make him Malamater again, but Juan says he knows of his collaboration with the guards and proposes a solution. Apache discovers protesters' fate, and Juan does not give him over to Mala Mater. The news that Utrilla beat a pregnant lady is published all over the television stations. The warden suspends Utrilla and threatens him that he will no longer work for any jail. Juan is anxious about his wife, but Mala Mater reassures him and says he will stand by him after the riot. He tells Juan that if he says he was scared and just doing what he was told, he will only go to jail for 7 years. Malamander sees that there are only 4 names on the list and knows that this can't be right. Mala Mater, Taquilla, and the other convicts are dragging the Bass group leader to the restroom to kill him and avenge the authorities and prison guards. Oliver attempts to persuade the men since the SWAT squad will storm in if the captive dies. He recommends chopping off the ETA member's ear, so they'll know the jokes are done, but won't storm in. While Mala Mater considers this, Taquilla sinks. 1. Shard must obey himself. After a shock, Juan is summoned to Mala Mater. As he leaves the shower room, he picks up the same sink shard, and the leader tells Oliver that Apache has discovered there were 20 injured and 7 of them, including Elena, are in serious condition. Apache shows guard assaulting poor Elena. The convicts say Utrilla is vicious and likes to beat people. Juan rages and demands Utrilla. The old jail warden paused and shouted back as he was leaving. Utrilla is notified that Mala Mater wants to talk to him. Almonso informs Utrilla that he does not have to go as he is technically suspended, but the guy still accepts to talk without knowing what awaits him. CCTV monitors the meeting for supervisors, but suddenly, Mala Mater, threatening him with a knife, takes Utrilla down to the basement, where dozens of angry inmates await him. One shows Utrilla the film of Elena's abuse and slaps him with his phone, demanding the truth about his wife's health. But Utrilla says that he knows nothing. Juan reaches Armando via radio. The guard has a hard time communicating to the unfortunate man. Juan assumes something dreadful has happened to his wife. Armando saddens that Elena died in the hospital from her injuries. Stunned, Juan sobs at the news. Mala Mater hugs Oliver and gives his friend permission to kill Utrilla to save him. Utrilla cries that Juan is a guard, not a prisoner. The angry one pulls the ceramic shard out of his pocket and kills the guard. Juan goes back to his cell and tries to kill himself, but the belt can't hold his weight. Mala Mater and Taquilla discuss Utrilla's word. Mala Mater doesn't think Juan is a guard, and he killed Utrilla, so he's tied to the inmate's destiny. The government sends a fresh guy to negotiate. Mala Mater is ready to negotiate the arrangement, but one takes Utrilla's body in and informs him that he killed him, threatening to massacre all the captives if the government doesn't satisfy their demands. The negotiator indicates they are prepared to compromise, but one feels the authorities cannot be trusted and asks that the minister make a public statement on jail conditions within 1 hour. Juan's cellmates endorse his requests. Mala Mater warns him to complete one if he takes command again. He believes one is now motivated only by retribution and that his reckless acts may lead to a slaughter. But Watt maintains that since the government is participating in the discussions, the issue is very serious. Their only choice is to battle until the finish. Mala Mater contacts the negotiators and learns that Juan is a security guard and shows a folder with his personnel information. They offer to get rid of Juan because he is now a threat in exchange for freedom in a year. Mala Mater tells Taquilla and Apache the truth, but says he won't kill Juan since they're all in it together. The SWAT team and convicts prepare for the assault. Mala Mater visits his cell and informs the inmate that the authorities requested him to kill him, but he refused, and that now, the two of them must carry this through to the conclusion, or Juan won't survive the onslaught. Apache frees the captives, and Juan and Mala Mater know they must finish the Basques and cell 225. Apache shoots the handmade shotgun and wounds one in the back, who dies in Mala Madre's arms, who now believes Apache is a traitor. The riot's initiator wants to deal with Apache, but also hurt, SWAT completes the mission. Many bags of prisoner bodies line the hallway. One of them reminds Armando of Oliver. Survives Malamater. He is brought away on a gurney and sees Apache, who is unharmed. Armando enters cell 211 and discovers Juan's wedding ring. What would you do in Oliver's shoes? Like and comment below. Also, subscribe to Cinefilm Recap.